Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our April Tech Town Hall. We're here with Neon One or Neon, and their representative Tim Sarrantonio, who's a great friend of M&A, great friend of nonprofits across the land, and he's going to give us just the 101 about Neon as a company. Neon CRM is a donor management software and as a system, and talk about some pretty exciting partner discounts that we have, both for Montana nonprofit organizations as well as M&A members. I want to be upfront with this and saying that Neon and M&A are great affiliates, great partners with one another. And Neon is actually the donor CRM or the member CRM that we use here at M&A. We can vouch for it. The reason we're offering it to you is because we know that it works because we're in it every day and it's something that we enjoy using and works well for us. I also want to be upfront in that because M&A and Neon are great affiliate partners with one another, that there is a financial benefit. So for organizations who in Montana who take on Neon as a system, M&A has a financial benefit for that. So I just want to be upfront about that. But the reason we're bringing you Neon as a possible option and product for your organization is because we believe in it and because we believe in folks like Tim and his team. So I'm going to pass it off to Tim and let him take it away. I'm going to put him on the spot and embarrass him and say today's his birthday, and he has graciously offered his time with us today and nothing else. He's been out of the office except for this presentation. Tim, happy birthday. Thanks for being here. Take it away.
Thank you for having me, Adam. I'm really excited to be presenting to this group in particular. Montana Nonprofit Association has a very special place in my heart. Thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. I told my wife, there's nothing more. She's like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, just make sure that I can be left alone so I can do this presentation. So I have 3 young children right over there that you could see some of the evidence of that. But this is for you. This is hopefully, I'm going to bring some gifts for you. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Adam's going to help me kind of manage the chat, things like that. I want this to be as interactive as possible as well. Let me kind of clear off the good old Zoom chat off to the side here. And so, today's presentation for the Tech Town Hall is the first in a few different presentations that we're going to be doing with M&A over the course of 2021 and well beyond. And for folks who are just joining us or checking out the recording, welcome. My name's Tim Sarrantonio. I've actually been with our CRM division since 2011, coming up to 10 years working for Neon. I've helped raise over $3 million for various nonprofits. Fun fact, actually 9 years ago, I used Neon to help raise $5,000 for 4 different nonprofits that I did through a personal birthday party that I called the Timtacular. So yeah, I just like helping nonprofits. I love everything about the nonprofit and social good sector. I've done 2 TEDx talks. I was named Nonprofit Pros 2020 Technology Professional of the Year. I started homebrewing again. I've been to some great breweries actually in Montana. So fun Montana fact, I spent my honeymoon in Darby. Went to Darby Lager Days, actually. So really excited to be here with you today. Kind of want to give you an overview of what we're going to be learning. What we're going to be kind of touching on is first of all, this is for anybody who's looking to learn a little bit about our tools and our partnership, but actually, we can go a little bit broader than that in terms of yes, you're going to hear about what we do, but I also want to talk about the challenges that we've been seeing for any organization through 2021. I think I see somebody from the United Way. I know that there's a lot of different organizations that we work with in Montana that do a wide variety of different missions. And so I have insight into all that different type of stuff. And I want to talk about the importance of a CRM or constituent relationship management system. You might hear about this referred to as donor management systems, donor databases. I like to use CRM because I feel that people contribute passion for our missions in different ways. You might have people who are volunteers, you might have people who are subscribers or come to your events, and they're all key components, and they might not necessarily like being called a donor, but they do like to be called supporters, or and so constituents is a nice way to think about them because it's a little bit more holistic. So I'm going to talk about the different ways that this technology can help act as a tool to take your mission to the next level. And again, the groundbreaking partnership that we're going to be announcing. We've actually been working with M&A. We started to do a light launch of our partnership in early 2020, and then something happened, I believe, to my understanding, that kind of delayed things, but it actually made it much better. So we're really excited for something that is going to make a big impact in your lives. The other thing that we're going to get into, I'm going to be paying attention to the chat. I want to make this interactive, but there's a limit that I have on being able to personally address your pain points. And so let's not try to shoehorn that. This is a nice introduction, but we have people on standby to explicitly talk about you. And that's important. And then we're really going to focus on the CRM today, but as you'll learn, Neon One has a wide variety of parts of our generosity ecosystem. And don't worry, we're going to be coming back in May to explore that further. So with that said, here's where we're going to kind of be going through today. One, a high-level overview of who exactly we are. Then we're going to pull it back and look at the industry as a whole. I work with a lot of different organizations, such as National Council of Nonprofits, listening to Montana specific needs and the things that are happening in that state because of our great partnership with M&A. I work with Giving Tuesday, fundraising effectiveness project through the Association of Fundraising Professionals. So there's a lot of different items that we have our pulse on to understand what challenges organizations are facing. But I want to hear from you. So please keep in mind what your challenges are, and I want to hear about them. I'll be paying attention to the chat. Adam's going to help translate that for me. And then a CRM is a really critical piece of being able to address these from a technological standpoint. And so I'm going to talk about the importance of a CRM in kind of a high level. And then we're going to drill down specific to Neon CRM, which I myself, as mentioned, had used for nearly a decade for my own organizations, plus a very special announcement. And of course, some time for questions. But I'll be back next week, right, Adam? We're going to kind of have me back.
Yes. So the session that the week after our town hall, it's just a chance to come back and just that's more of the conversation around what are your pain points? What is it that you have questions about?
Great.
What can we talk about that's more
Very
broad?
conversational at that point.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. We'll have a bit of that today, but don't worry, I'll be back. So what's our mission? Our mission is to help social good organizations raise more money and build sustainable long-term growth. What that practically means from our CEO is that we do this by working with you. So a large amount of our staff has a nonprofit background like me. We design these products for you. We don't serve yoga studios and pizza shops and other types of things like that. We only work with social good organizations. And we feel like we do this uniquely because there's a lot of different, database companies and online giving and all this type of stuff, and it can be very confusing. And what we like to do is say, look, let's look at this holistically. And what we need to do is ensure that nonprofits have the freedom to innovate. A lot of times organizations feel that they can't make a technology decision or any type of programmatic decision for that fact because they might get fired for making the wrong choice. And what we want to do is just let all that tension out, right? Like you got a pressure cooker, big cook, and I was using my pressure cooker last night, and one of the things that happens is that you hit that and all the steam comes out, and then it's finally like, everything's ready, right? And what we want to do there is release any of the tension when it comes to making a technological decision, because what we can do is come in and help focus in on that recurring sustainable growth, that long-term growth. And there's a lot of data that shows that we do this. So we serve over 6,000 organizations. A bunch of them are in Montana as well, M&A also being one of them. Last year, we actually helped facilitate over $2.9 billion in revenue for organizations. And we do this in a wide variety of ways. So we're unique in that we don't just have one type of product. We have a few different products that work in concert with each other. So even Kieran Johnson, who works for an arts organization in Long Island, New York, he and I had a conversation about what he was going through, and he actually cited the fact that he was able to utilize our platform and make sure he didn't have to furlough anybody. They kept all their staff. Nobody got fired. They were all able to focus on their jobs. And we do this in a few different ways. We have a CRM, we have a peer-to-peer solution. We even run some giving days, even at least off the top of my head, one in Montana. And so we're going to get into what those matter in the larger world here, but all of these work together. That's a really important point, that when I say work together, I'm not telling you that you have to download a bunch of reports. That's a big thing. That a lot of nonprofits, the data shows that they're managing their communications and their stewardship and their online and offline fundraising in 3 to 5 different data sources. And basically Neon One was founded to say, that's terrible. Let's not do it that way. And so that's why we call it a generosity ecosystem, because these all connect. Now, pain points. Pain points, according to 2021 Nonprofit Pro, obviously I'm a little partial to them as a source because I was named their 2020 technology professional of the year, but they're a fantastic resource for industry news. And they did a leadership survey, and many of the leaders cited these as the top 5 things that is a typical challenger pain point for an organization. Getting new donors, lack of resources, so overall capacity building, lack of awareness. People don't know who my nonprofit is. Cultivating and retaining donors, which is always an issue. That means you get somebody and then they come back. And then there's just frustration with digital fundraising. There's a lot of promise that we're given around digital tools. Oh, wow, look at this. It does. It's like the cat chasing the yarn, right? Like there's a lot of promises made and then it doesn't deliver. And so what I'd love to actually understand a little bit later on as we unpack things is, what do these resonate and what is missing in terms of your own challenges? So I will be asking, and get ready for the chat to kind of unpack your own pain points. But these are the top ones that typical leaders of organizations like yours are addressing. Now, this translates into impact of growth. And so the average donation growth in 2020 industry-wide, it was 2%. So we work with Giving USA, we work with Fundraising Effectiveness Project, we work with National Council of Nonprofits. So this is us just kind of being tapped into what's happening in the industry at large. And the smaller, quote unquote, revenue organizations obviously struggled a bit. Everybody struggled in some way, but in terms of growth, the smaller nonprofits didn't grow. They just in general did not grow. The medium-sized organizations saw a little bit of flat growth, and then the larger ones, which probably had a bit more ability to kind of pivot quickly because they had more resources, saw nominal growth. Yet the reality is that our CRM clients across the board saw growth, saw significant growth. Look at that first one. Because a lot of times we don't even hear about the organizations that are under $100,000. 31% growth in donations growth, and pretty significant. And actually, I'm actually happy that the 10 million is the smallest one, in my opinion, because they probably have a larger amount of money that they have to go through, and they still saw some growth. Now, it's not just that though. It's different types of missions. So, I of course am always fascinated by what different nonprofits do. So these are not the full breadth of types of missions that we support, but obviously one of these may be yours, and really, really healthy growth overall. Educational institutions being the lowest, but there's a lot of reasons for that, and a lot of it's because, well, the kids weren't at school, basically. So really, really fascinating growth statistics that we've seen with our clients on the CRM itself. And a lot of that is because we're really hyper focused on creating, again, that sustainable long-term growth. A lot of systems are kind of transactional in nature, and a good CRM, regardless of which one that you choose, is focused on relationship building. It's going to have elements of who that person is, note taking, transaction management, but then how does that relate to why they care about, why do they give you money in the first place? Is it an event? Is it a donation? Is it a subscription? Is it a store purchase that they did because there was a t-shirt? Did you shift to a webinar format? We saw one of my favorite clients to cite from a pivot standpoint was the Minnesota Horticultural Society, who started offering webinars on gardening in April. Like, that's cool, right? Like, I just planted some apple trees. Like, I could have used that. I don't know if I did that well. So those are the types of things that organizations, if you have the sense that it's going to be okay no matter what, then you can take a risk. And that's what I mean by the freedom to innovate. And I feel like we do that the best. We do that very, very well. And we do that because, like, here's a really good example of what we were able to do. So Real Talk, our arts and theater platform, just like didn't make any money last year. Like, nobody was buying tickets to Hamilton. And so what happened is that if there's a lot of ticketing platforms that they were only ticketing platforms, things like Brown Paper Tickets, right? Things like Eventbrite, and they just like had a bad year. Whereas Neon One had a pretty good year because we were able to absorb those types of clients and say, we're going to continue to support your platform. Nobody's going away. Your prices aren't getting touched. Like, just use it and use it as effectively as you can. And here's other stuff if you need it. And that's why having a larger ecosystem helps, because when things are good, then, nobody complains and they think it's always going to be that way. But it's really when things are bad that any type of organization's revenue is really going to be kind of hyper focused. And for us, it was the fact that we handle all the different ways that people give online and offline. And the data shows that digital did grow, but digital only didn't grow. A lot of people were giving offline. People were still sending checks. People were still doing cash. Everybody was more generous. And so the fact that our CRM can manage all those different things allowed our more digital focused platforms to kind of shine on the pivot into that hybrid model. And so all the things that you're seeing here do elements of kind of both, right? CRM is online, offline. Neon Fundraise is peer-to-peer fundraising, and we have people doing, virtual 5Ks and, live stream Twitch streaming and all this type of interesting stuff that you hear about next month. So this is why we're able to kind of address that. But then we have our client success team. We have industry insights through things like National Council of Nonprofits, and then our partner network like M&A, being able to actually hear what matters to Montana nonprofits and then deliver that. So I'm actually really excited to even talk about Montana Giving in one of our educational items. Today I was trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I make a nice Montana graphic, on giving, things like that. So that's all to say that notice who's in the middle. You're in the middle there. That's what matters. Okay. So I want to kind of pause here and I'll look over to the chat. What are your challenges? What did you get challenged by during the last few months when it comes to donor management? Did you have trouble retaining people? Did you have no challenges? It's okay if we're shy. We are so new, we're just getting started. Last year's your first year, Susan. Oh, wow. No. That's See, you come in new to the position, and I'm sure I'll have more later. Awesome. Yeah, and you know what? I think that's an important point. I think it's important to virtual fundraising. Okay, very cool. That's a big pain point. I think that's that digital pivot that everybody had to figure out. And a lot of it is it comes down to new, right? New organization, new to the position, new type of fundraising. And I think the issue is that, again, it goes back to that freedom to innovate. And if you know that things are going to be okay because you have the basics down pat, because the systems are there to support you, you're not there to support the system, then you're going to be good. So I think what I'll do is I'll shift into kind of showcasing things specifically on why we do the basics very well from a CRM standpoint. Because any good CRM, doesn't matter if it's us or anything else, is going to give you sustainable revenue management, good relationship management that moves you from transactions into relationships, and has communications. It's that simple. If it does all these other bells and whistles, great, we do. I mean, goodness, folks, you need cryptocurrency integration. I got it, right? Like we have all these wild things that my job is to build around this platform, but it's important to just cover the basics well. So this is what the CRM looks like. So this is when you log in. And the login is very nice because we actually have all those. You saw that wheel of stuff that we do, right? You got the fundraise and the pay and all that. You don't need to care about any of the different names right now. What matters is that this is the constituent relationship management system, but there's one login for all the stuff that you saw on that wheel. You don't need multiple logins. So that's one thing. If you're new to a position like Jess, how do I get into my payment processor versus like I'm working with my nonprofit that I help found, and they keep emailing me like, do you have the password for this thing? And because they managed all this stuff all over the place. And the reality is that if you centralize even something as simple as a login, it cuts down on the frustration. So we've centralized the logins for everything. And then you can also have multiple people here. You got the payment processor here. You got the support center. So even the support is the same login as you getting into the database. Very simple. Our Learning Management Academy, same thing. So it's as simple as clicking a button and being able to talk to somebody because we want to be there for you. So everybody gets helped. So when we look at this, there's really only a few key areas that I want to introduce you to, because again, next week, let's talk turkey. Let's go back and actually go into your specific pain points. So if Emily is frustrated with virtual fundraising, oh boy, do I got a lot for you. But I want to talk about the basics, and the basics are people, and the basics are reports. And the basics are something like communication. So email, for instance, TechSoup and Tap Network just released a report from 2021 that said that 41% of nonprofits don't have the ability to segment their audiences. That's bad, because if you just send imagine if you always got something from somebody that you've given money to, and it would say, thank you for your donation / coming to the gala / volunteering. You're not going to identify with that. So what you got to do is be able to personalize things for people. And you can't do that if you don't know who somebody is. So let's actually look at Sarah West here. I'm a future apiculturist. I want to raise bees eventually. So working for the Boulder Beekeeping Buddies here. So this is what Sarah's profile looks like in the CRM. You can take notes. You can pin notes. Maybe we can even say something like, really loves bees. And this is a biographical note. She has so many bees. And we're going to do yellow for bees. Save it. There you go. And you can track information about where they live. You could track custom data. You can track relationships. But one of the things that I love about this is there's a timeline. So it can actually show you all the different ways that you've interacted with a person. So notice everything here. This is everything that's loaded in if you need it. And again, this is very customizable. So this view, you might look at this and go, that's too much, Tim. That's fine. Go ahead and edit it. Or I don't use things like that. Go ahead and edit it. This is for you. We built it for you. And so the ways that everybody needs to track stuff is like everybody talks to people. Even the introverts have to interact with somebody at some point in some way. But people want to give donations. They're going to pledge support. They might attend an event. They're going to get an email. And then there's a lot of other interesting things. Notice the flexibility, even down to notes, being able to see the fact that somebody put a note in. The first nonprofit that I worked for, the executive director's co-founder walked out of the nonprofit with the database. It was an Access database on a computer, gone. All that history. Whereas this is in the cloud, you just need an internet connection. That's it. Desktop, phone, doesn't matter. Just get internet. And then you can see all the different donation history. So you can see things like all-time donations, year to date, recurring donation schedules. We do this very well. She doesn't have any, but we could set something up, or she could do it on her own through an online form directly connected to the payment processor that we've built that is fully PCI compliant. And it does all the transactions for you. So then when you need to go ahead and actually understand what's happening for, that's an individual. You can also track companies, you can track households, friends of all these folks, board members, just people. Then you can actually get detailed reports, and it's doing all of this for you. So these are fundraising key performance indicators. This is doing a lot of math and crunching it. So you don't have to have, when your board asks you, well, how much money did we make this year and why? You'll have better insight than just giving them a profit loss statement from QuickBooks. And that's because fundraising is more than just accounting. Now, notice you can sync it over to QuickBooks. We actually have the top integration into QuickBooks, but we also work with other accounting systems. And that's because integrations are important too when it fills a need that we don't. You can also get individual prospect forecasting, activity calendars, favorites. There's a lot of fun stuff in here. Now, if this is overwhelming, you don't have to look at all this stuff. You can also zero in and just add the things that you care about. And you're not going to mess with your staff. But if your staff is messing with you, by the way, and you want to understand who did something weird, that's what an action log is for. Who deleted that record? One time when I worked at my last job before Neon, I actually overwrote over 1,000 different records with something. We have controls for that type of stuff. Finally, communications. I love direct mail, so we manage that. I am going to be a little upfront that we just upgraded our email, so somebody doesn't need something like Constant Contact and MailChimp. Look, if you like it, cool, we're going to work with it. But I think our new email is pretty cool, so I'm a little nerdy about that. So you could even kind of get into a comfortable view here and say, okay, let me see all the donors this year. Kind of zero in, create some different reports, add new people, import people, have a live report. You can see all the different individuals. You can exclude people. You can send it over to something like MailChimp. You can implement this into your website. So all of this, everything for the CRM is website ready. And then what happens is that you can also create these campaigns. So you could do something like a newsletter We even created a button builder. People went nuts for the button builder. People were like all about the button builder, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of get in there, and let me go ahead and kind of look at, let's see, this festivals. Oh, Mike Caulfield. Mike's stuff can be, yeah, see, Mike's stuff can be a little iffy. So I'm going to go ahead and edit his content. So it's kind of very easy. You can set up different blocks and different share buttons. So maybe I want to share my Instagram, or I want to share my, SoundCloud. Look, people have podcasts. Maybe you're doing a podcast. You never know, right? So it's very easy to edit all these types of things. And then even when you're getting into this, what's fun is that, yeah, like I said, we've created the button builder, and all of this is mobile responsive. The reason we did this is that we needed something that was more modern, more updated, and then it's very easy to actually sync it into the form. So for instance, if you go and to the Montana Nonprofit Association and you renew your membership, guess what you're using? Neon. But we got some form upgrades, Adam, coming, by the way. It's some really exciting stuff. Give us a few months. We're constantly upgrading. So then the final thing is statistics, right? So a lot of this is also analysis to help you make better decisions. If you have data, then you can use data to get yourselves raises, by the way. You can go to your board and go, I did a good job. Give me more money, because here's the data that shows I did a good job. We even like try to track satisfaction constantly through usage of the platform. So if I wanted to do comparisons even, I can actually even do that right within the platform. I've sent all these emails. I'm checking overall open rates, things like that. And then when I drill in, I can see the effectiveness of where I've sent things and where things are even getting opened. So so one of the fascinating things that I analyzed recently is Texas giving. And we found that, for instance, 47% of Texans during COVID donated out of state. So maybe you're making assumptions about where your donor base lives. Maybe you have a bunch of emails that you've acquired, for instance, and then it turns out that our system tells you that you got a bunch of people from Texas or Oklahoma or New Mexico, or maybe even internationally. It'll just do it for you. And so a lot of this is really cool. Oh yeah, and then we did add emojis too, I have to say, folks. So I am pretty proud about the emojis. So this is the kind of high level. Notice there's a lot of different things here. There's a lot of customization and flexibility. And I think that's the difference between us and other platforms out there, is the flexibility, but we're giving you so many tools out of the box that a lot of the quote unquote cheaper platforms, you're going to have to outsource your email. You're going to have to outsource your online donations. You're going to have to outsource a lot of stuff to a third party. And that monthly price is going to look attractive until you start looking at the aggregate of what you're paying for. And then you got the opposite end, and then you're getting charged like way more than you should be paying for the platforms that have been around for a long time. So I like to say that we're the baby bear in the Goldilocks. We're just right. We're just right for a lot of organizations like you. So let me kind of go back to kind of the basics here, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. We're seeing individual organizations. So M&A talked about their impact, but somebody like Lawrence Humane Society, a lot of times the reason we can guarantee that sustainable growth is because we're saving significant amount of staff time working on things. I mean, the last job that I had, if I needed to process a donation, I literally had to walk to another building, up 3 flights of stairs, process it through an offline, like a Fifth Third Bank key interface, walk back and enter it into my, Blackbaud Razor's Edge system. And that there was nothing and that was because I did it. It's not because the computer said, yes, this is actually a processed donation. So this saves a lot of time. And then Lawrence Humane actually saw that they acquired new donors and they increased overall donations pretty significantly. And the reason that we do this is not for money's sake. It's because you want to do something. You want to have more impact. And the reason you build relationships with your donors is because if they hear about your impact quicker, they'll give you more money. So it's a cycle that we want to create. That's how we create that long-term growth. And we work with a lot of different organizations. Adam, playing to the crowd, that entire first track are all Montana organizations. Give a Hoot is a giving day that we run. I actually helped sign Orphans Lifeline back in the day. I just liked Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation's logo, by the way. So, a little water. But these are all the different organizations that we help with the variety of our technology. But actually, that top one, other than the Giving Day, they're all CRM organizations. No, so not everybody uses our CRM. These are all part of the generosity ecosystem, but the vast majority of the ones, especially on the top for Montana, they're using the CRM, which is really exciting. So how can we help you? So Adam talked about a financial benefit, and that's fine. That's not the crux of the relationship. That's a nice to have. Where they got really excited and where we got really excited is because we want to help you. So for any Montana nonprofit, 50% discount off of upfront fees. You got a current database or a bunch of different Excel spreadsheets you got to load into this thing, and that's what's scaring you. Fine. We're going to cut that in half. We're going to cut that training in half. We're going to cut implementation and consultation in half. That's the thing that everyone gets freaked out about. So we said, why are we making this hard on people? Members, a little bit extra. So we're really excited about this because typically the change management fees are the things that stop people from actually moving forward or making a consideration. So we said, let's make that the easiest thing to get rid of in terms of a hurdle. We're also going to offer other discounts of things such as Neon Fundraise, client case management, our website builder. We're going to offer specialized trainings specifically on Montana giving. That's the one that I'll be overseeing. I'm going to come back. Hopefully I haven't lost too many people for today's presentation so far. And we're going to dive into how Montanans give. And then also some special access to our user conference. We have some amazing things planned. We're actually going to have, some research debuted. We're working with Visa. We're working with Facebook on some really exciting stuff. We have a disability rights activist as our keynote. So we're really excited for that August thing, and we're going to give some special discounts because of Montana. So that is the crux of my, what am I doing? Did I stop sharing my screen, or have I been sharing?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We've been able to see it.
Oh, stop share. There we go. Okay.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, we're open up for questions. Anything you guys have. And I think too, Tim, before we go further, one thing that we've noticed here at M&A of having a CRM that does more than just manage donors, but actually allows for communications and event management and all of that is, our donors think about us as an organization in a holistic sense. They have an experience with us. So they may give a gift and come to an event and volunteer here and do something else, and their cousin works over here, whatever it might be. But it's all part of one experience. And yet we typically in nonprofits have 6 different systems to manage all those interactions, and we never see the whole. So for us being just with Neon One for a while, to be able to see the whole for our members, so we can see who's renewing membership, who's coming to trainings, who sent in a donation last month, and we can see the whole picture instead of seeing it all these different parts and parcels. Hugely beneficial.
Every different data point leads to a potential breakdown. And your donors are not your donors. Your supporters are not your supporters. They're not living their lives necessarily defined by the fact that they're going to give you a gift. And so whatever helps you stay top of mind with them is going to be effective. And that's what we're here to help with. So what can I help answer for today?
Yeah, any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or put it in the chat. I think maybe we wait for a question to come in. I'm going to put somebody on the spot here because I see Emily. She's with United Way. We've worked with her for a little bit. How does this kind of system work with an organization like the United Way that maybe has more business donors, A, and B, does re-granting, so pass through grants into the community? Is Neon set up to do that well?
So the way that so with CRMs, it depends. United Ways tend to have even a special CRM. I can't speak for Emily, and I don't want to speak for Emily, but sometimes the United Way, what we found is that like they have like something special built for United Ways. But for instance, when COVID hit in Dallas, the United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, Jeffrey Sampson down there, reached out to us because they wanted to do Giving Tuesday Now. And so we actually, while the CRM, this is the generosity ecosystem at work, Adam. So the CRM wasn't anything that was going to help them, but our Giving Day platform did. And we actually used that to help the Metro Dallas area, including a campaign with United Way and other foundation partners, implement that, and they raised $42 million. And we even help like Washington, D.C. with their Giving Day. So a lot of times United Ways like us for the Giving Day platform, but sometimes use us for the CRM too. So because we can either plug into their reconciliation and they're dispersing the money, but we're doing all the onboarding. So there's a lot of interesting things that we can help do there.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Feel free. Any other questions at this point to put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask away.
Another item, because I did actually notice that Emily did write virtual fundraising. So we did help a lot of organizations with our virtual fundraising platform called Neon Fundraise, like the NFL. We have the NFL, which United Way has a very tight relationship with the NFL, for instance. And so we did the NFL Draft-a-thon last year. We're talking to them now. I had to double check if that's locked in. But when we did the Draft-a-thon, we were doing like live streaming. It was on YouTube Live, and Kevin Hart's making jokes, and then suddenly, it's raising a few $1 million. But we have smaller organizations who are using it too to do something very simple. Like we had Chalk Children's Hospital of Orange County Foundation. They did a webinar on cooking, and that's what they were live streaming. So virtual fundraising, a lot of the stuff around the digital pivot to make it easy for just that experience, like we were there pretty quickly.
Tim, I'm most intrigued about segmenting, and we're just trying to figure out for our organization how that's going to work. Can you show us a little bit about how segmenting works?
Sure. Okay, we'll go back to, we'll get off the slides. So let's go ahead and maybe even think about like something like segmentation in an email audience. And so what's important here is, let's go ahead with just this festival list type thing here that doesn't really have anything going on. So I'm going to actually, you can import email addresses from like a CSV file that you receive somewhere, but you can actually even build a report from here. So I'm going to go ahead and build like an audience report. This is just getting into the nuances of how our platform works. But for all intents and purposes, these two things work the same way, which is like, I just want to look at people and do something. But the new report is like if you ran a transaction specific report and then said, I really like that report and I don't want to rebuild it. Can I just like use it again, basically? So when you're segmenting, you do querying. And really, querying is using data within the system to drill down. So I could like literally say, you know what, I'm going to do, let me get my interface. I am going to do the Adam segmentation, and I'm only going to look at people named Adam in my database. But you can also do things like containing, and it could be like containing the letter C. But that's not really applicable. So maybe let's actually look at something like first donation date. And you want to look at all the people who gave this year, your 2021 donors. Now, I don't want to keep picking that, or I don't want to keep building that year after year. So current calendar year start, done. That's all my 2021 donors. But next year, I don't have to rebuild that. I could just keep it, and it's 2022. It's a dynamic field. That's the biggest pain in the butt with a lot of other systems. You got to build it, and then you got to rebuild it. And we want to flow with you. We want to adapt with you. And you can kind of drill down, you can exclude. But a lot of times what we're finding, and this is where our partnership with Visa is being very informative, is that donor behavior is actually trailing consumer behavior, meaning that like donors don't act differently than consumers because they're the same people. And so 90% of American consumers want some level of personalization. So that's why segmentation is important for who you're targeting, but it's also important for when you're actually building the email too, because you can segment, but then you can kind of like fumble the personalization if you don't add something like, their first name. But the more that you can drill down beyond first name, because people are like, yeah, I know what you're doing there. I know how you know my name's Susan. But the more that you can say, wait a minute, like here's a good example that I always point to. When I was in Chicago, I donated or adopted two cats from an animal shelter. And I always got annoyed that they never referenced the fact that I adopted the cats. All they had to do to get more money out of me, all they had to do was say, I really like the fact that you took some buddies home. And that's it. That's all I needed. And all you had to do is have one field in your database that said cat adoptee, yes or no. That's it. And that's segmentation. Susan, what's your mission? What do you do? What's your organization's mission? If you don't mind me putting you on the spot.
I don't mind at all, Tim. We're in human services. So we help people with their personal development, with their emotional health. We have a community-based model rather than a medical model.
Awesome. So a segmentation there would be like asking something on an online form or during an event.
Yeah.
Around that. And then do you have a relationship with somebody that has been affected by this?
Yeah.
And then you have two different segments, because if anything, the segment that says no is a little bit more interesting to me, actually.
Yeah. One of the confusions that we have, Tim, is that we have a huge variety of types of engagement from our clients. Mm-hmm. And a proportion of our clients are also donors. And the way that they engage with our activities varies widely. Some of them are Montana based, some of them aren't. Some of them are regular, some of them are occasional. And we haven't found a database system yet that will allow us to create the segmentation so that we can tailor communication in a meaningful way. So can we integrate people here who haven't given anything? So can we use it as an email list, even though they're not donors, and we would be able to incorporate everyone that we're engaged with rather than just limiting it to donors?
That would be the email audience.
Yeah.
That you basically, what you do is you configure it under a subscription form. And then it collects those people, and it collects like light information, like their name.
Yep.
But it doesn't add them to the database, and it doesn't drive up your money, basically, because we focus in on that. So the short answer is absolutely, and because of the same thing that you just said. Yeah. And then you can have different audiences that are tailored to the different programs, collect those, and then maybe when you're sending out, you use what would be really effective for you is that statistical analysis where you can kind of tick off and do the compare
Yep.
And only compare the people that you aren't having in the database. Like, don't use the list where like you can even name it and go, they aren't like, they're not donors, right? And then
Yeah.
like you only compare those, because you can like tick off. Notice that you don't like limit.
Yeah.
And what's really fun is you can also view unique recipients toward this too, where it's like, who are the people that actually got both?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I like the flexibility. It's very impressive.
I do too.
Thanks.
I know we're coming up to time, Susan, and I'll be
That's
back
great,
next
Tim.
week. We can
Thanks very
definitely
much.
help you.
Cool. Appreciate it.
But yeah, and here's where we get really wild too, folks, is that we do allow creation of complete custom data points. Like this says committee, this says grant disbursement. If like we signed you up tomorrow, those aren't in the system. Those are called custom objects, and they're like, okay, I'll give a concrete example of a custom object. Whales. We signed a whale organization that wanted to track adoptions for their whales. And they didn't want to like create a campaign for every whale. So we were like, okay, so here's your donor. Here's your donation. We're going to create you a special thing called whale. And then it had all the whale information connected to that like was the third data point. And something like Salesforce can do that, but then you pay $20,000 to do that. We do not cost that. So we're the only platform that really supports this level of customization without breaking the bank. Cool.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, thanks so much for your time today. I don't think there are any other questions, and so we'll be back here next week, same time, 2:00 Mountain, for just a conversation. So think about questions that you have, and maybe we'll get into more, even hopefully some more details about the partnership and how we can, folks that are interested in figuring out, using this as a solution for themselves.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Great.
we'll go from there. Tim, happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you. And Adam, if anybody does reach out like Susan, if you want to talk to somebody before next week, we have, we're ready. We're ready.
Okay, great.
So,
thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
Have a good day, everyone. I'm going to go make some steak sandwiches tonight and eat some red velvet cake. So
Nice.
Love it.
Thanks.
okay, bye.
Bye.